Hello, and welcome to episode 88 miles per hour of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all the things Nintendo. My name's Kevin, and with me this week in the still world to talk about the Triforce of Power, Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Courage is Harrison.
Right. Nintendo Therapy listeners, if you don't like Zelda, I don't want to advertise against us, but this might not be the episode for you. Um, just just a disclaimer right there. It's going to be a very Zelda heavy day. But
Yeah,
what's going on, Kevin?
there's other news.
There's a couple of other things.
I
Um,
finished Luigi Mansion 2. That's not Zelda. I finished
right,
it
right.
before though. I played it back in the day on the 3DS, so it wasn't a new ending for me, but another one in the books, another thing off my backlog before the Switch 2 launches.
Did you remember it? Because it's a pretty short game. And it's a really long time. So
I remembered bits and pieces here and there that I'd say I remembered about the same amount as I forgot. It's yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that like didn't transition over to Luigi's Mansion 3 that I was like, "Oh yeah, this mechanic." Like there's like little bomb guys that you flash your flashlight and they explode, or like there's like portals that you activate to kind of like shortcut to places on the map. Stuff like that I'm like, hey, I'm surprised none of this made it into 3.
there are tons of things in 3 that I didn't know on my second playthrough because I don't think I got to it in my first playthrough. And there's going to be things in my third playthrough that I haven't noticed. My second, like, there's tons of Easter eggs and just things to like mess around with.
Well, now that I think of it,
Um,
there are portals in
yeah,
Luigi's Mansion 3. They're just different. Like there's like a very specific framework to the like the device used in Luigi's Mansion 2, and it's not in 3.
right. Is there Gooigi in Luigi's Mansion 2?
No, I haven't played any of the online multiplayer yet, so I don't know if they added him to that, but he was new for 3.
Yeah, I think Gooigi is an interesting idea. Going back a long time, thinking about maybe making Luigi's Mansion like the next game, maybe making it with a second character, or I like brought up making it with Daisy, um, having a second playable character that you could use at different times or the same time. I don't know what her um, device would be.
Mm.
Like in Ghostbusters, did they use anything else?
Oh
Like
yeah,
we
they
have
have
the
all.
vacuum.
Yeah, so you got the
Yeah.
vacuum. I mean, you could have some sort of laser proton pack type thing. You could have Ghostbusters, they have like the slime uh mechanic, which you already kind of have precedent for with Guigi. Um what else do they have? I feel like I'm missing something big that they do, but I don't know. They've done a lot of things in Ghostbusters over the years. They've had like, like what is it called? Ecto, like grenades. Like things like that. So yeah, they've have all kinds of ghost busting technology out there. Should have been a bigger franchise.
Yeah, assuming that Luigi's Mansion is directly taking inspiration from Ghostbusters. And you know what? Um, this is in my in some other notes for another episode. Forget it. We'll do it now. Um, does Nintendo have any other Godzilla references besides Luigi's Mansion 3 that you can think of? Um, because they
Well,
have it in Luigi's Mansion 3. Yeah.
there's the giant Bowser in is it in what is it? Yoshi's
This
Island,
furry
maybe, where
island.
like I feel like you're circling and you're going up a tower and you see like him out the window coming closer in one of the games. I can't remember which game that is though. And in Sim City, he acts like Godzilla. He's replaced with the Godzilla disaster in the Super Nintendo version of Sim
That's true.
City.
It's a good one.
What else? But Nintendo games, they haven't really done like Bowser's Fury. I mean, he's not technically a
Bowser's Fury, yeah.
Godzilla, but he's he's a big kaiju.
Bowser, yeah, that's what I was thinking, and because it's so evident. Like in Luigi's Mansion 3, they're on a TV or movie set,
Yeah.
so like it's Godzilla, of course, and it just every time I play through it, it's like I'm always thinking like, yeah, like what are like the two biggest like or like what are like some of the biggest icons or like mascots in Japan, and why isn't there more Godzilla, Nintendo things out there? But I feel like I kind of have to digress because I'm getting too much into my bonus episode now. So
Okay.
yeah, okay. So you finished Luigi's Mansion 2. Did you finish Cat Quest?
Oh yeah, I platinumed Cat Quest a while back, and while
Oh,
I'm not a fan of trophies, I've said that on here before. I will say I feel like Cat Quest could have had more of them. I feel it was a very easy platinum. Like
it is.
there are rewards in the game that reward multiple playthroughs, and there's no trophies for them, which is kind of weird. Like there's like special pieces of armor that you get for beating the game certain ways, and there's no trophy for it. I just found
Right,
that interesting.
right, right. Um, I don't know if it changes at all in the sequels. I'm waiting to play Cat Quest 3. I guess sometime after I play Echoes of Wisdom. It's but beyond that, I mean, it's the first two games were great, so I
Well, you
expect the third game to be good too.
you know how I talk on here a lot about like when I play an RPG, I like to play it over leveled. Um, I literally one-shotted the end boss in Cat Quest because I didn't fight the end boss until I had done literally everything else there was to do in the game. Because lately I've had this thing where once I tell myself, okay, I'll fight the end boss and then I'll go back and do the optional stuff. And then there's something about once I see the credits roll in a game, I'm so much less likely to pick it up again. I'm like, I guess I'm kind of done with that one. So what I did here is I put that off and I did everything else there was to do in the game before fighting the end boss, which they recommend you be at like level 40 to fight, I think. Maybe a little higher. But my point is I was at level 115 when I fought the end boss. And I literally cast my fire spell once and he dropped. So one shotted the end boss.
Yeah, and I would make a Zelda similarity to that, um, because I see a lot of Zelda similarities, whether it's like the overworld or like the dungeons or the 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 duck dodge, whatever. But yeah, I'm always like at like level 80 or something. Whenever I've played through I'm always like very overpowered. And Cat Quest does something that I wish games like Pokemon would do, where they create a very simple open world, but if you venture into the wrong area, you're going to find out really quickly. Like if you go to an area that's overpowered and you can't handle it, you're just gonna die and you're like, oh, okay, I got to go somewhere else first on the map. Um, but yeah, it's been a while. I remember Cat Quest having a very nice gameplay loop that keeps you engaged and is simple enough for my mind, at least.
Yeah, the rewards keep giving you that dopamine hit.
Right. It's an easy game to follow. I mean, it's a pretty short game. I don't remember much of the story. Uh, Highly recommend for a game that's always 80, 90% off. Highly recommend. Highly recommend it. Um, and other than that, we'll have to get back to it. I think another time. But we had trailers for Mario Party Jamboree, that new Epic Mickey game, or is it? I'm gonna call it new Epic Mickey Rebrushed, and some other ones I'm excited about. But I just think it's crazy how much, just how much we are getting at this time. I'm gonna keep saying it. Like we're just getting a lot of games, a lot of content.
Well, yeah, everyone's trying to take advantage of the fact that there's 140 million Switches sold, so it's a big install base, and if you can get your game on there, do it because it's more likely to sell there than anywhere else. So, I think that's a big part of why the Switch is still going strong, is people are still playing it. The one that I was excited about was the Lunar remaster collection that was announced. That was also done this week, and I had that game on my to-do list for seriously like over 10 years because of availability issues. Like, I don't know, like I'm not gonna lie, I have played ROMs of games that you can't, if it's a game like a Super Nintendo game that you have to spend $90 on buying third hand, I don't think there's a problem with playing a ROM for that because none of the original developers are getting money if you buy a secondhand copy of that. So my point is, I've played ROMs before, but the PlayStation generation, always hard for me to make a ROM work. It's not as direct as like a cartridge works. So I've had this game on my to-do list forever because it's a CD-based game. It's not one that was easy for me to emulate. And yeah, I just can't wait to finally play it and not have to spend $200 on a PlayStation version because it's just going to be a regular price game and I can snatch it up. They did put it out on mobile phones, which I bought because that's how much I wanted to play this game. And I just can't do mobile phone gaming. I just can't. Like, it's one of only like 3 times I've been like, all right, it's my only option. I'll give it a try. And then I give up on the games every single time.
So it's Lunar, not Lunar. It's Lunar.
Lunar. Oh, did I say Lunar?
No, you said Lunar.
I think it is.
And I stuck on to that while you were talking. Just
yeah, no, I think it is Lunar. I could be wrong. People correct me. Obviously, I'm not an expert. I haven't played it.
No, I'm asking you because I don't know this game. So like on paper, I don't know which one it was, but
it's one of those games that has like a huge cult following, and like a friend of mine has always recommended it to me whenever I'm looking to play a new turn-based game. But I'm like, I can't figure. I have no access to this game. It's one of those ones that's like practically lost media. Like, and finally they're making it available again, so that's exciting.
Watching this trailer, it looks very nostalgic for something I've never seen before. Like the music and the theme. It all has a very nice feeling to it. I really like the character sprites and the character design of this game. And I was just surprised how similar it looks to games like Dragon Quest, Harvest Moon, and I don't know what the connections are there. I'm sure there's connections somehow with that. So I'm excited for that fan base. I'm excited for you too.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like I said, I've played like an hour or 2 of it on my mobile phone before I gave up on it. It seemed like a great game. I just can't do the touchscreen mobile phone gaming. But there's going to be quality of life improvements with this one, which are going to be great. Like, I love that a lot of these remasters now are having this feature where you can choose the original visuals or the remaster and toggle back and forth. Like Tomb Raider did that not too long ago. And you can speed up the battles. And there was one that said improved strategy settings that make combat more convenient, which if I remember correctly, and again, I'm not an expert on this game, but if I remember correctly, what I think that's referring to is you can let the fights autoplay. So I think they might have turned up the AI a little bit, is what they're saying, so that it might auto play a little better, because it says improved strategy settings make combat more convenient. Maybe you can like set different preferences now for how you want the battle to prioritize things. I know that was a big thing in Final Fantasy 12 is you could customize all your it was almost like computer coding. Like your party members were controlled, computer controlled, but you would set what their priorities would be, and you could set them to be like, if HP is below this, do this. If and like you spent so much time customizing these characters, that was like the big thing in Final Fantasy 12. So I don't know if they're gonna do that much, but that was always fun, to say like, if your magic points are below this, use an elixir. Like you could have them take care of themselves properly.
Yeah, having an auto battle function is interesting if that's what you're describing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, look forward to that. And I think we're burying the lead here. Maybe we should start talking about Echoes of Wisdom. I was
Sure.
just like you, only really able to play about an hour's worth. I don't know how spoiler heavy we should go. We'll say medium spoilers if you're listening, because I mean, how much could we spoil? We each played about an hour of the game.
Right. Yeah. So I'll just say, for what I played, there's really nothing I could spoil for you if you've seen the trailers. If you haven't seen the trailers, then I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing that I saw in the first hour. The only thing that I could say that's spoilery is that it was my expectations of what it was from the trailer, if that makes sense.
Hey, I called it on Link. You starting off playing as Link too. By the way, I was so like happy with that because I don't know if it's going to come back later in the game, but I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what I thought this game was going to start like. Although, speaking of how the game starts, though, before I forget, this is something that Tears of the Kingdom also did that I don't like, and I hope it's not what all the games moving forward are gonna kind of be. Is I don't like that once you open up the app, it just goes straight into the game. There's no like, I'm sure there is a home menu, but
There
I
is.
didn't. There wasn't one from starting the game. I haven't restarted the game yet, so I don't know if it shows up there. But
There is.
what's that?
There is.
Okay, good. So that happens when you
Yeah.
restart the game, I guess. But like I don't like the Tears of the Kingdom did the same thing, and I don't like that. I don't know what it is about just like 30 plus years of playing video games and being programmed that you have like, a little bit of a cutscene or something, and then it goes to the start menu and then you choose new game. And I just, especially in Zelda, the new game element is, I mean, this time around you're not naming the character. So I guess that might be why they avoided that tradition, but I don't know. I wish they all started that way. I like the
Yeah.
home menus of lots of these games.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot with Nintendo games. It's probably with other first party uh, developers that want to make it this like cinematic when you
Hmm.
just kind of first go into the world. Because I think Mario RPG did the same thing on its remaster. Because there's been times where I've like put a new game in and I've like walked to the kitchen, came back, and been like, what? Hold on, you know.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Yeah.
It might have been like I wouldn't be surprised if like the Princess Peach game did it. I only played the demo. A lot of them. I think Breath of the Wild does it the first time. I think, but it's been so long I can't remember.
Yeah, that's a good
Um,
point. I would
I
never
don't
be able
like
to
it
remember
though.
that. Yeah, me either.
Yeah, yeah. The point is, I don't like it because whenever we take away agency, you know me, I'd rather just because there
Yeah, and
have been times
like
where
you
I
said,
missed it.
sometimes you're booting it up and you're like, okay, let me boot it up, and then you get distracted by like your phone or something real quick, or like in my case today it was my dogs, and I'm like, oh wait, the game is going. Like so, yeah, you want to be the one who activates that. And I guess you could argue that you activate it by opening the app, but I wasn't prepared for that to be the activation point.
Okay, so well, if you want a spoiler, the main menu on Echoes of Wisdom is strikingly similar to the main menus of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, in my opinion. Yeah, it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple. It's like you see the same overworld that you see in the opening sequence when Zelda first makes it out. So
Well,
uh
moving away from criticizing that part though, onto the positives is like I am already way happier with this as a continuation of the series than I was with Tears of the Kingdom. And I know technically this is another Zelda game reusing an art style. In this case, they're reusing the Link's Awakening remake art style, but this is something that feels, even though it's reusing an art style, like a totally new experience in a way Tears of the Kingdom never did for me. Like, don't get me wrong, Tears of the Kingdom had a lot of amazing things going for it, but to me, it never felt like a new experience. It felt like a continued experience. And this totally feels like a new experience.
I can't believe it. I did uh a, I read probably all the initial reviews for this game, and a lot of them are just paying homage to the fact that I mean we are almost 100% sure that this is the final Zelda game on the Switch. I know I've said that more than one time on this podcast, but we're like almost positive at this point. And it's just I can't believe that we're leaving on something that's sort of like this game. And I think that it's very beautiful that it kind of, in a way, sort of feels like it ties everything together, but then kind of leaves the next generation open to I have no idea what's coming next. You know, 2D, 3D, something entirely new altogether. I have no clue whatsoever. Uh, so I'm just happy. Like even just playing an hour of Echoes of Wisdom and playing a bit of the Spotlight game, it felt like I got into a really good spot. Um, I think I need constant reminders of why I enjoy playing video games. Um, Ultimately, that's what Nintendo does well, so that's why we do this podcast. But it was a good reminder of why I have fun playing games.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like down to like even little things like Z targeting in a top-down Zelda. How have we never had that before? I was so like once it happened, I was like, oh yeah, like in Ocarina of Time and all the 3D Zelda games. Like, why not? So that was really cool. Um, there's definitely more Breath of the Wild influence in here than I anticipated. Like I knew from the trailers, like the menu designs and the sound effects and stuff were going to be Breath of the Wild influence, but just down to like the design of the bombs, and they have like a little Sheikah look to them. I thought was interesting. I'm kind of bummed it's another Ganon villain game, which we knew from the trailers again, but I would have preferred either Vadi or somebody new. I feel like Nintendo, if they had made this in the 90s or early 2000s, it would have been a new villain. They would have been like, Link has Ganon, Zelda has whoever this is. Um, so yeah,
Totally.
move beyond Ganon, Nintendo. We've gotten enough Ganon and Ganondorf in Zelda for a while, and people liked Vadi as a villain. People liked oh, what was the one? I mean, it turned out that Ganon was actually the secret villain of Twilight Princess, but I can't think of like Zant. Yeah, we like Zant. There's been a couple of non-Ganon villains in the series, and they're all pretty cool. So keep that trend going.
Totally. It's difficult that Ganon and like Bowser are so popular right now.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I'd argue for this one, it's not like they're marketing this game at all off of Ganon being in it. Like they really marketed Ganon for Tears of the Kingdom.
lot.
So it's almost like an afterthought in this one. So it feels like the villain could have been anybody. And again, I've only played an hour of the game, so maybe not. But so far it feels like the villain could have been anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. I did not even think about it up to that point. Uh, based on where we are. But yeah, that's a fair criticism. There's a lot of ones they could use, and again, you know me, I'm completely fine with using a completely new antagonist altogether. So that would be fine with me as well. I found, everything that I did on the controls felt really, really nice. So I must say, like, if you're someone who's played a few hundred hours of Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, chances are you're going to pick up this game and just, besides the fact that you press B to jump and not X, um, it's going to feel really, really good in your hands. Using the D-pad and then the R stick to scroll through your echoes. I found it all to be very, very intuitive, very, very fluid. The beginning might be too simple, but I'm gonna say up to this point, I feel like everything has felt great. I'm gonna assume that it it gets more difficult and that there's more combat, and I'm not gonna jump to conclusions now and say it's like, oh, it's like this great Zelda game or it's not a good Zelda game, because I just don't know at this point. All I can say is that it was enjoyable, and I think there is a lot of ideas on quality of life in this game. So my only big question then was, were there any other surprises to you?
It's just not really any surprises. I'm just so excited about the game so far. The surprise is how much more I'm enjoying playing it than I mean, I knew I was going to enjoy playing it, but I didn't know I was going to enjoy it this much. So, I'm like already like in love with this game. Can't wait to play more, and I'm not even going to get to play more until Sunday, which is why being an adult is terrible. But it's like it's right there, and now I know what it is, so I'm like, oh, just let me get back to it, you know. So I'm really excited to dig into this map. The map is huge, by the way. It's, it's not Tears of the Kingdom big, but it's like, I think they said 9 times the size of Link's Awakening's map. And it's just like, it looks like there's so much to do, and I've only reached the very beginning. So I'm just at I don't even know what's in there yet, but I can already tell like this is my type of Zelda game. I've always preferred the top-down Zeldas. We've talked about that before. And yeah, so I'm just really excited to get into this game and really dissect it further. I'm happy heart pieces are back. I've been missing heart pieces for a while, so um, hopefully there's some really cool quests to get them.
Yeah. Uh, Graphically looks beautiful. Did you have any hiccups in your gameplay? Any drops? Any issues?
Nope, not yet. But again, I only played that hour, so
Yeah. Yeah,
um,
me neither.
nothing I can really report on. It does have that weird blur effect at the edge of the screen that Link's Awakening
Mhm.
also had, which I'm not really sure what the thought process is on that. I'm not, I could take it or leave it. That's not a complaint. It's more of just an observation of I know other people complained about this. So I'm like, it's interesting that they didn't do anything about that when I didn't see anyone saying they loved it. You know what I mean? So since people did complain, I don't really care though.
Do you have any opinions on the R stick camera? It's a little bit similar to, I'm gonna say, um Wind Waker. I'm gonna say where you can move the camera slightly to the left and right. You can't like move it 360, of course.
Yeah, I haven't made it to many areas where I've needed to use that function yet. I saw when it was like in the part of the game where it's teaching it to you, but I didn't even really need to use it there. I knew where I was going. So, we'll see. It is left to be seen.
Yeah. It's just a different idea in the top down model because like it is top down, but I almost feel like it's almost like I'm looking at it from like a 45-degree angle sometimes. Like I'm almost like I'm looking at it from like a balcony, and it's like a stage.
Yeah.
It's almost a different perspective. It's like a modern top down. I'll say it's modern top down.
Yeah, that's a
I'll
good
leave
way
it
to put
there.
it. It's almost the same as Cat Quest.
Yep.
So
Yep.
speaking of Zeldas and top-down Zeldas, I'm gonna assume it sounded like you were done talking about Echoes of Wisdom. We can move on to our spotlight game, and it's a very Zelda heavy week, like Harrison said. We're talking about Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons this week, which came out on Game Boy in February of 2001 in Japan, October of 2001 in Europe, and May of 2001 in North America. Um, I think a lot of people who are interested in Zelda have read about how this was originally conceived as a remake of the NES Legend of Zelda on Game Boy, and that somehow them playing with those tools, they must have been remaking it in the Link's Awakening art style because that's what this uses. Um, that ended up spawning into this ambitious three connected games idea, which would have been a Triforce trilogy of games that all connected to each other. That ended up being toned down to just two games because they said making three games interact was too complicated, which Pokemon, I guess, later perfected. Um, and or Pokemon was out by then, but anyway, uh, each game originally would have focused on a different Triforce element: wisdom, power, courage. But what we got was Oracle of Seasons being more action focused and Oracle of Ages being more puzzle focused. And I have to say, in doing my research for this week, something I think is an important distinction is I saw a lot of people saying like Seasons isn't more action focused, like if anything, I thought the combat in Ages was more difficult. Um Action and combat aren't the same thing. When they say Seasons is action focused, and I'm just replying to comments who aren't even listening right now, but yeah, saying Oracle of Seasons is action focused is more talking about the fact that like you ride around on way more train cars and do way more Indiana Jones type stuff in Oracle of Seasons than you do in Ages. That's what they mean by action focused. But yeah, the opening cutscenes look amazing for the Game Boy Color. Let's start there. What did you think of those?
Uh, yeah, it does it does look amazing, and so much of it just reminds me of older Zelda titles, which was the idea in the with this game. You
Oh
know,
yeah, it's I feel like the way that Echoes of Wisdom right now is very heavily influenced by Breath of the Wild. These games were very heavily influenced by Ocarina of Time, which was big at the time. You know, you've got the horseback riding, you get the Epona um, opening cutscene. There's a lot of characters in this game, like the guy with the music box that are taken straight out of Ocarina of Time. So yeah, there's a lot of that in here.
right? And I mean, and I was thinking more just of uh, Link's Awakening, Link to the Past, and then then eventually a Link Between Worlds. But I see a lot of connection with 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 those games as well, which also kind of connects with the supposed timeline of this story. Um, I'm not exactly sure what the intent from Nintendo was when they created the game, but I'm sure it was heavily Ocarina of Time influenced because of just how groundbreaking that game was.
Yeah, for sure. Like it was definitely on people's minds, you know. So they had to it just like Breath of the Wild right now. They had to assume that was a lot of people's entry point to the series and play off of that. I have to
Yeah,
say though, something did always feel a little off about these games to me. I don't know what it is about it. They feel a little like fan made game at points, like it's using the Link's Awakening engine um, and just kind of I don't know. It just feels a little fan matey at certain points.
that's that's probably where I'm getting the Link's Awakening inspiration or idea from. And the only thing that I thought was I need to finish this game to find out whether this Zelda game stands out and why it would stand out from another Zelda game. Um,
Well, I
I'm gonna
wanted
be
to
pretty
talk about the ending. I hope you don't mind spoilers.
sure, yeah.
So that was
Um,
one thing I'm sure you saw in my notes here is this this has always been a major problem I've had with that Zelda timeline is that we see in this game's ending the shot is almost identical to the opening of Link's Awakening. So it was always crystal clear that these games were meant to be a lead directly into Link's Awakening. These come right before Link's Awakening. It's like one of the only examples in all of Zelda history that we had a clear A to B. The only other one I can think of is, well, obviously Tears of the Kingdom now, but Majora's Mask definitely picks up at the end of Ocarina of Time. But it's very rare that we get that. And a little while later, after putting out the official timeline where that was correct, Nintendo for some reason changed the position of the games on their website so that these take place after Link's Awakening, which doesn't make any sense to me because like I said, it's almost like identical the cutscene of Link leaving on the boat at the end and then you see that same shot of Link on the boat out on the waves at the beginning of Link's Awakening. So I don't understand how they could say these come after if it ends where that game starts. Um and I don't know. I've just always thought that the timeline was kind of nonsense. I think the problem was that the concept of a multiverse wasn't as popular back then. So I think the Zelda universe is much more of a multiverse. It's like each game has like the series itself has canon events, like in the Into the Spider-Verse movies. Um, and each game kind of decides how those canon events fit into its history because games on other sides of the timeline reference each other. You know what I mean? Like the games in two separate timelines reference each other, which shouldn't be possible if they're on separate timelines. So, I don't know. I've just always had problems with that. Each Zelda game should just be viewed as a fresh start. And then when it references an older game, you're like, oh, okay, so that happened in this game's world. And each time you just have to piece together what this game's world is.
this, so it's on the it's the official Nintendo website that says that.
Yeah, the
Uh,
official Nintendo website moved and I think in books that came out after Hyrule Historia, where they reference the timeline, they moved this game's position, or
so
these games, I should say.
so to be clear, and then of course I haven't finished the Oracle games yet. So in Link's Awakening, you defeat the Shadow Nightmares,
Mhm.
and then what happens in Oracle? Or they try to revive Link, or they try to what was it with the fire, the elements? I can't remember. However, Oracle starts.
Well,
But
yeah,
then
Oracle ends
yeah,
with Link going out on a boat that the
yes.
boat he's on at the beginning of Link's Awakening, and everything that happens in Link's Awakening is almost irrelevant because it's in a dream world. But I think they're supposed to argue that all of the things that connect these three games, you could say, um, would be Link dreaming about. The reason they connect is Link's dreaming about the things he did in these games.
So on the official website, Oracle leads into Link Between Worlds. Am I right? So on the official website, Oracle is between Link's Awakening and Link Between Worlds, which I also
Um,
haven't played yet.
I'm looking for it right now because I don't think Link Between Worlds was out last time I checked the timeline. I've given up on it that long ago.
Because Link Between Worlds, the Triforce, it gets destroyed in the three pieces, which is kind of also kind of where I got lost in the timeline, because that also kind of sounds like what we almost did with Oracle of Ages and Seasons and a potential third game. But that's the way I understood it on my timeline. It's very confusing, and I almost agree and say that uh,
What I'm looking at here on a Reddit post, and I don't know if this is the new move, but it is a fact that Nintendo did move these in the timeline. And it looks like they may have moved them back because I'm looking at an updated Reddit timeline. This looks official. Um, where I guess it goes A Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, then Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Link's Awakening, the way it should be, and then Link's Awakening goes into A Link Between Worlds.
I I think it could go either way, which is, I guess, going back to your original argument, isn't it?
Yeah, that the timeline doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They could almost all go either way.
yeah, there's a way you describe the Triforce. Something happens to the Triforce, and Link ends up on an island, and you got to help Link in the beginning, and whatever it is, and even like playing Echoes of Wisdom. This is the last time I'll bring it up today. Um, it's just like, oh, there's a rift, and the rift is taking everything, and the rift is a bad thing, and it's just like it's
Oh,
so secondary sometimes to, like, let's just get to the action, like let's
no, I have
just
an
get
update
to
here.
the
It's
the
still
gameplay.
wrong. Because this is the official Zelda timeline that was released a few weeks ago to incorporate Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Okay,
And the official one has Link's Awakening leading into Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, which doesn't make any sense based on the ending.
that that's what I said. Yeah, 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 yeah. So you defeat the Shadow Nightmares, and then in Oracle of Ages, who are those people that try to help Link in the beginning? And oh, I'm messing this up so badly. But but the Triforce being destroyed in the end would lead into Link Between Worlds.
Yes. Yeah, that's how this new official one goes. You were right about that. But
That
like I'm like
that
my major hangup is that Link's Awakening can't come before these games. And I think you're when you were asking about the characters at the beginning, are you talking about like Nehru and oh, what's What's the other one?
Ricky?
The
No, no, no,
characters that
no,
are
no,
playing music at
not.
the beginning.
Um. Yeah. Exactly. Whoever they are. I didn't write it down.
Din
Whoever it is.
Din is there. The ones that made the Triforce.
Right. So I now I'm getting confused, but because I think, as you said, it could go either way. Where it could be
I don't
Link's
think you can.
Awakening.
That's my major
You
hangup. You
can't.
clearly made an ending that leads into another game, and now you're telling me that other game comes first. It's upsetting to me. It
I,
can't go that way.
I I haven't played Link Between Worlds, but
Link Between
the
Worlds,
Link
you're hung up on. I'm not even thinking of Link Between Worlds. I'm just talking about Link's Awakening cannot come before Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. That's the thing that upsets me.
in another dimension. I don't know. I don't know.
Link
Okay,
Between
okay.
Worlds can go anywhere. I don't care where that game goes because it doesn't have a cutscene that directly ties into a different game. That they clearly it's almost an insult to the people who made these games. Like they clearly programmed this game saying, "Oh, and this will be cool. We'll have the ending directly lead into Link's Awakening." And then for some reason they were like, "Nope, it doesn't anymore." Even though it clearly does.
That's the only reason why I brought it up is because I hadn't played the other game, and if it did lead into something, then it would have changed it. I'm speaking hypotheticals. I'm speaking hypotheticals over here. You're
But
the
that
Zelda
doesn't
expert.
but Link Between Worlds doesn't change anything about what I'm saying because it comes after
Right.
both of these games. So
I I got it.
I just
I,
and this is why the Zelda timeline is garbage because you talk about it any way you talk about it, you could make an argument for the games in almost any order, which people did on the internet for years before Nintendo released their version of the timeline just to stop people from arguing about the timeline, which didn't work.
okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. This is only what I look at the same timeline that you're looking at now, and I tried to make logic out of it. So that's
Another big problem with the timeline to me, while we're on the subject, is I hate that there's a fallen hero timeline. It doesn't make any sense because technically there would be a timeline split every single game if that hero failed, or if that hero failed, or if that hero failed. So that's just a minor nitpick. And I know you could say, like, well, maybe they just haven't made the games in those timelines yet. You know, they're never going to. They're just saying this is the only hero that mattered, and in the timeline where he failed, here's what happened. And I don't like that either.
yeah, it's true. That's true. Fallen Hero has always seemed a little bit silly in the video game world. Like what else is there? I don't know. Um, you're very rarely like a protagonist that just has everything.
And by the way, the
Um,
most games in the timeline are in the Fallen Hero timeline. So the entire Zelda Hyrule history, um, basically the majority of what we know about Hyrule history depends on the fact that Link in Ocarina of Time failed. And that's kind of a bummer. Because the games in the Fallen Hero timeline are A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, Link Between Worlds, what am I forgetting? Phantom Hour, not Phantom Hourglass. But oh, the original NES Zelda is in that timeline, as is the sequel, the Link's Adventure follow-up. So like there's like 6 games in that timeline versus the other timelines only have like 3 or 4.
yeah, yeah, six major titles. Um, six very big games. Yeah, I don't know. It's always like whenever we try to define the eras. I mean that's why I really start to get lost. I can kind of follow a timeline if you want to define it that way, but also I can kind of just ignore it as well and think this might just be Zelda in a whole other dimension.
Yeah, it's a
You
multiverse.
know,
That's how I look at it.
yeah.
Each game, its own separate universe, separated by art styles.
So yeah, Oracle. I think. Um, what do you think the chances of us getting a quality of life Oracle remaster on I'm gonna call it the Switch 2 at this point. On the
I don't
Switch
know.
2.
I know people online were really hungry for it when Link's Awakening remaster came out, but I don't know. I don't know if I see them remaking these games because they're kind of oddities in the series. They're some of the least referenced games in the series as far as like when they make references to other games. So and the fact that Capcom made them probably is something that Nintendo wants to draw attention away from them. So yeah, I don't know, but that might just be me not being able to separate my personal feelings about these games. So I don't think we'll ever see it, but Nintendo has definitely surprised us in the past.
Something I saw a lot talked about in the initial reviews for this game were just the lack of buttons you had
Yeah,
on the Game Boy Color, and I'm like, well, uh, not a big deal anymore.
but that was
I
also a
just
criticism of the Link's Awakening remake is they didn't really address that much. Like they still kind of kept you to the two equipable items in that, didn't they?
um, did they address? It's been so long now. Like, did they address it with the D-pad? It's it's been a while. I thought they did, but I might be wrong. But hypothetically, hypothetically, I mean, it's something that I think is a game that they can make, and one would not cost them that much money, and two, they can make much better with some simple quality of life improvements. But you're probably right with
Yeah,
the
and
Capcom
sorry,
thing
I
as
fact
well.
checked it. I fact checked it, and the quality of life they kind of improved was you could hold R for shield and L for dash, so you didn't have to equip those things anymore. But other than that, yeah, you had to stick to the two, and obviously you had a button for your sword. But they still kept it to only two items you could equip. They did improve upon it a little though, because in the original you had to, one of the two slots had to be used for your sword.
I'm gonna circle back, but how about any other handheld Zelda games for the Switch successor? So we're talking Minish Cap, Phantom Hourglass, Spirit Tracks,
See, those I could
and
see. I could see at least
yeah.
getting ports because it seems like they're gearing up for putting out DS games. It seems like they're ready to resell those to us. um, so I could totally see Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass coming out. Phantom Hourglass,
Minish
I don't know how they'd get around it depends on how the Switch 2 is set up because Phantom Hourglass is notorious for having exclusively touchscreen controls.
yeah. Because Switch successor, like, here's what I think is what is in play. Oracle games, possible. Minish Cap, possible. Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, I'm gonna say more than likely. Link Between Worlds, almost for sure. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna predict that we get another Link to the Past remaster remake in the next generation.
I wouldn't say
Um,
no.
even though we have one already, I mean one of the most classic Nintendo games of all time, and it's been a long time since we got that last remaster, whatever we call it. So, do do the Oracle games hold up today? I know it's kind of an oddity. I know you mentioned that it's kind of a almost feels fan made. I'm saving my opinions for when I finish it. I will finish these games. Do they hold up today?
I still think they do. All the Zeldas do. They're I don't know if they could definitely use, like we talked about, some better equipping options, but once you get past that, the gameplay's solid, it's responsive, it's everything you expect out of a Nintendo title. It's the puzzle solving is always fun. So hello?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You for me, you cut out for a few seconds. So, listeners, sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
um,
I'm sorry. Maybe we should just move on to ranking these.
um, yes. Oh, wait. I need to talk about Ricky real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. How
Another
about? Well,
thing that
first of
feels out of
all,
place to me.
r- right. Well, first of all, I wanted to say that I think Ralph, for a Zelda character name, is wild. Is a crazy Zelda character named Ralph. Um, and Ricky, the boxing kangaroo, seems, yes, very out of place, but I kind of like it. This is a very goofy Zelda title. I think that would be, I think, my perfect way of just kind of closing this up is that um, almost every Zelda game has at least one goofy part to this. This one has quite a lot. So
Yeah,
that's
and
all I wanted to say.
That's definitely the Capcom influence.
That's all I wanted to say. Like I don't know if people back in the day when they first played this game, they thought, oh, a kangaroo in a Zelda game. So now I can move on. Where did you rank this, and who would you recommend it to?
So I would rank this I'm giving myself room for other Zelda games, but this is also kind of where it felt right to me in my rankings. You know what? I'm gonna make an adjustment here real quick. I'm gonna move it down just a hair. Um, because I need room for the other Zelda games because, as I've talked about before, these are kind of my least favorite Zeldas. But where does that put it on the list? I'm gonna put that here. This is a better spot. So I liked Oracle of Seasons a little more than Ages. So I ranked Oracle of Seasons at 27 and Oracle of Ages at 28. That puts them in between Yoshi's Story and Mario Golf.
Hey, so
And I would
so
recommend them to anyone, anyone who plays
yes,
video
sorry.
games, you can almost recommend to Zelda games too. Like anyone who wants a puzzle heavy, a Zelda type game. If you want anything that the Zelda series is known for, puzzle solving, adventure, sword swinging type of game, this is your game.
And if you're playing Zelda games, you can play it at any point. Yeah,
Yeah, the
I
timeline doesn't
guess.
matter. You can take
Yeah.
that away from this conversation too. Any Zelda is a good entry point, except maybe,
Okay, so
like Link's Link's Adventure on the NES. I don't know.
so Kevin, Zelda for you is one, two, four, six, one, two, four, six, 27? I and 28, I guess. I think
Yeah,
that's
seems about right. We got some more in the series to come, I think. I think there's some I think there's some on there that we haven't done yet.
okay. I think mine was pretty close to that.
Or are
Let's see
there?
where I
Have we
had.
done all the Zeldas on Switch Online now? Oh
We
no,
haven't
we
done
haven't done
Zelda.
the original and
Link,
we haven't done the
right.
NES titles.
Yeah, I'm still kind of I'm still kind of waiting on those. I held off doing Link's Adventure to see if it would get pulled on this show because I kind of needed an excuse to play Link's Adventure or I always say that it's the adventure of Link, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Um
Yeah, I'm sorry. The Adventure of Link. I think I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But I've I've been hoping we would pull it on here, so I had an excuse to play it because I'm not looking for. I'm
yeah.
just not.
So let's
I'll
move
do
on
it
with your
though.
ranking here. We're running out of time.
Yeah. Link Oracle. Sorry. Um. Oh. I lost it. I'm sorry. Cut
Okay.
this part out. Oracle of Ages I had at 16.
Mhm.
Oracle of Seasons I had at 17. That might change. I'll change it on here once I finish it. If I like Seasons more when I finish the game, I'm just gonna flip it around. But of course, those two are going to go right next to each other. I don't think they're ever going to separate at any point. And like you, I think it's pretty similar because it is my lowest ranking Zelda game. And I think for us, yeah, our order is a little bit different. As far like I have Link's Awakening above Ocarina of Time. I have Minish Cap below those two. So anyways, um, it's ranked still very high.
Yeah, that's not a bad place for it. Um, Sorry to our listeners, but I do have a job to go to. I have work, so I'm not trying to rush us out of here, but it's the unfortunate reality of the podcast. We'll spin the randomizer now. Um
Let's go.
and yeah, we'll get on with that. All right, so next week we are going to be playing Snake Rattle and Roll for the NES. I remember playing this as a kid. I think it's like Marble Madness, isn't it?
Something like that.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
It's an arcade type game. So we'll have some arcade type action. And yeah, sorry for cutting it short, everybody. You know, when we talk about Zelda, the episode's gonna run long, but someday I will not have to work these crazy hours anymore. And who knows, maybe even Ninja Turtle nerds will come back. Uh, but until that day, keep in mind we are Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So feel free to correct us, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. And go join our subreddit. I want to talk to people on the subreddit. I'm on there when I'm at this job that I'm talking about. I'm on there at work, and no one's ever talking. So go talk with us there, Nintendo Therapy on Reddit. And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.